What's up, comic book fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast of the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network, here with a look at the McFarlane Toys Spawn line figure of Haunt. So, most of the content that I make here on this channel is very kid-friendly. However, this review is not. This character is not a kid-friendly character. Haunt is published by Image, and I have read this story, and it is definitely full of adult themes. In fact, on Amazon, you'll see that the recommended reading age is 16 and up, and moreover, this figure is specified as not a toy and intended for ages 14 and up. I do believe that in addition to the adult content, that there are a lot of small, possibly dangerous parts to this figure. So this review is for adult collectors only. So the front of the packaging says Spawn, and there is the name Haunt down there. Of course, Haunt is a combination of the brothers Daniel and Kurt Kilgore. On the side, we get a look at Haunt here. This is Todd McFarlane art. On the opposite side, it says Spawn. And there's a partial window where you can see the figure. On the bottom, we get some product information. On the top, we get another partial window where you can see the top of the figure as well as the accessories. On the back, we see this artwork of Haunt. Of course, it is from Todd McFarlane. It is very detailed and very bloody. Overall, I think this is attractive packaging. I do believe that mint-on-card collectors will be happy if they get this figure and just want to display it in the package. We do get this very large window here that displays the figure in its entirety, as well as these other accessories. A lot of people make comparisons of Haunt to Venom, but his powers in the comics are much more supernatural as opposed to biological like the symbiote. The only criticism that I have of this packaging is I wish that the figure were in the center and that these accessories were off to the sides. And with no further ado, now I think it's time to bust this figure out of the package and see what's inside. Here is the figure free of the outer packaging, but still in the inner plastic. Here is the inner cardboard tray that you might wish to use as part of a diorama. And here is the peg base that comes with the figure. I appreciate that the figure does have a base, but I wish it said Haunt instead of Spawn. And here we see Haunt out of the package and ready to rumble. There is a great deal to like about this figure. It is certainly collector-centric, and I do believe that there is some fragility here, so that lends credence to the idea that this is not a toy, but collectors, I think, will be very happy, especially considering that this is the first ever figure of Haunt. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the loose details now. Let's have a look at accessories now, and this piece of ectoplasm here is actually a stand in and of itself. I didn't realize that until I took it out of the package, and you can see the peg right there that ports into the foot. So this is also a piece of ectoplasm. This is a tendril that is snaking out to form a sharp weapon, and this actually is a little sharp, so be careful when you're handling that. Also, the alternate set of hands, and you can see where the wrist peg ports into the back there. So this is a cool little set of accessories. Let's have a look at the lower body now, and my first criticism is that the figure doesn't stand well. I had to use the Spawn peg base to get this figure to stand. There are a lot of things to like here, though. You can see the texturing on the side of the leg. That looks just magnificent. Of course, that goes all the way around. You would expect that from McFarlane. See the double jointed knees. We'll take a look at those in a minute. And we have some really solid paint applications. So let's take a look at the foot articulation. You can see the ball joint for the ankle, and you can get the foot to go back that far for a flying pose. Midfoot articulation. Some people call that toe articulation. You can see the pivoting here on the foot back and forth. It's a little tight, but still with the way this moves around, that's not a huge negative. Now these little tendrils, they're pliable, but they feel like if you play with them too roughly, they could snap off. So be careful there. Double jointed knees here. You can see the knee pins and you can get the leg to go up that far. I'm very impressed with the way the quadriceps have been sculpted. You can see the individual muscles, but at the same time, they were able to make it look like you have this, spectral material flowing over the human parts of the anatomy. So the hip articulation is a mixed bag. You can get him to kick out to the side that far, which is adequate but not great. You can get him to step back, and I certainly appreciate that. But when it comes to kicking forward, you can only get the leg to go up that far unless you want to angle it outward, which makes it look really weird. There are numerous figures from the McFarlane DC Multiverse line that have the same issue with forward articulation of the legs. He comes with this pliable hip piece, and I appreciate that in terms of aesthetics, but it does limit the forward kicking motion. Let's have a look at the torso now, and you can see just how well the symbol has been sculpted. And even with the ectoplasm sculpting, you can still see definition in the individual muscle groups like the abdominals and the pectorals. So here is an even closer view of the torso, and you can see all of this magnificent sculpting. It doesn't look like fabric, it looks like something flowing over the musculature. And that same rough, intricate texturing extends to the back, but nonetheless, we can still see the structure of the latissimus dorsi. The torso articulation is better than I expected. You can get him to move easily side to side in the lower torso. You can get him to rock easily all the way around the upper torso joint. And you can see how easily that pivots. You can get him to crunch forward this far, and you can get him to rock back considerably. So if you'd like to get him into a big leaping pose, you certainly can. So let's get a look at the arms now. And I really do like the sculpting on this set of hands. This really reminds me of the way they looked in the comics. Again, the texturing continues here. I like the differentiation in color from the shoulder to the biceps. You can still see some definition in the triceps back here. Again, good shape on the deltoid. I would still be careful with these little tendrils. It feels like, again, if you forget a little bit and you get a little overzealous and you push on, like, let's say the elbow joint here, it feels like you could snap one of these. So again, be very careful when you are articulating the arms. So let's get a look at articulation. He does have these ball joints in his wrists, so you can get the wrist to move back and forth like this, which that is considerable. I really like that. And of course, you can get the hand to move all the way around. He has this double jointed elbow that you can get him to almost fold his arm in half like that. So that's impressive. And he also has this butterfly joint here in the shoulder, which I really appreciate. Like if you want to get his arms to like go up that far, that looks really good. And you can also get it to rock back, obviously. You can get the shoulder to go up this far, and you can get it to turn and rock back too. Obviously a bicep swivel. Same thing on this arm. You do get a little bit of a gap in the back here when you articulate the arms like that, so you might want to work with them. But nonetheless, I really can't fault that. I do appreciate that level of articulation. So let's have a look at the alternate set of hands now. So while I'm changing hands, I thought I would take this opportunity to show you how to put on this tendril accessory. Just kind of wrap it around here like this. And you shouldn't have any problem putting on either set of hands here, but I certainly do like the way that looks. So here is that tendril accessory on the opposite arm. And as you can see, there's just a lot of magnificent attention to detail here. I really like how it kind of snakes up and flows outward. And as you can see, I put the alternate set of hands on here. And I prefer the other set of hands, but if you like the tendrils kind of going out in every direction, you might favor this set of hands. Here's a look at the head sculpt, and this mask is a little controversial among fans. Some people see this and say he looks too much like Spider-Man or he looks too much like Venom. To me, that's not a bad thing. And I think there's been just enough change with the lower jaw being exposed as well as these teeth to make this look different. By the way, he also reminds me a little bit of Necron, but that's beside the point. I like this design a lot. And the way that it has been reproduced here for the figure. So I think this gray and black color scheme, the nasal cavern, as well as the solid white eyes, they all look like something that is dead, that is existing beyond the veil of death. And so I think they all work well together. Unfortunately, the articulation for the head is a little subpar. I can get him to look side to side, but the neck joint is really tight. I can only get him to go that far in either direction. I can't really get him to look up. I can only get him to look up if I articulate the top of the torso. I can get him to look down pretty well, so I appreciate that. And there is a little bit of head tilting, so I'm certainly appreciative of that. And there's always the chance that this is just an anomaly, that the head is especially tight on my figure, and perhaps if you get a Haunt figure, the head will move more freely. I certainly hope you have enjoyed this review. If so, please like, subscribe, and tell a friend to do the same. Stay tuned for some articulation shots, and also remember to catch me on the Multiverse Musings vidcast, available right here on YouTube. And I'll be back to the internet with more comic book related content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.